In this video, I'm going to show you how I help basketball players get faster in a way that translates to the court. So that way your speed isn't just something that you're doing in the weight room or on the track, but it actually helps you play better on the court. I'm going to break this down into four basic categories. It's going to be physical qualities, linear speed, multi-directional speed, and then on-court work. So those are like the four big buckets I'm going to talk about here. So let's get into this. First thing I'm going to talk about is the physical qualities. So there's like three subtopics that I'm going to talk about when it comes to the physical qualities. The first is going to be your mobility and your tissue quality. So when I'm referring to mobility and tissue quality, what I'm talking about here is mobility. You need to have good mobility or a healthy range of motion in your joints that they can access, primarily in like your ankles, your hips, and your thorax, which is basically like your torso from your neck down to like your lower back. So it's just having good mobility here. The way we're going to address that is primarily during like mobility warm-ups as well of your performance training sessions or your basketball sessions, but also just doing things like some good movement hygiene, which you could do in the morning or the afternoon or the evening. And it's just having quick, simple little 10-minute routines. As far as tissue quality goes, it just basically means like, not having, we'll call it like really tight or poor quality tissue, I guess. And when I'm saying tissue, what I'm referring to is like, yeah, kind of the muscle, but I guess I'm really talking about like the tendons. So not having, unhealthy degenerative tendons. And the ways we're going to address that primarily is through things like heavy strength training, but also things like isometrics, and then just having a healthy diet and staying hydrated. The next category of physical qualities is going to be your strength work. So strength work, when I'm talking about that, I'm referring to like three main types of strength. The first one is going to be like your max strength. That's the ability to produce the most amount of force possible regardless of time. That's things like your 1 rep maxes or things that are like over 85% of your 1 rep max on any lift that you can think of. That's like max strength work. The next category is going to be things like rate of force development or power, is like a more common term for that. So that's the ability to produce force really fast. That's going to be things that we'll see in things like your Olympic lifts, or if you're doing speed squats or any type of speed lift, that is going to be things that's going to target rate of force development, as well as like sprinting and jumping and medicine ball throws and so forth. The last category I'm going to talk about when it comes to strength is your reactive strength. So reactive strength or reactivity, another term might be like elasticity, is basically your body, your ability to rapidly produce force using the stretch shortening cycle. So that's like, when I am starting to skip, for instance, I'm starting at 0 miles per hour. I have no inertia going on. So there's no use of the stretch shortening cycle, which is basically like your body uses the stretch shortening cycle, which is like your body's ability to utilize energy like a rubber band. Like the further back I pull a rubber band, the more energy it's going to release when I snap. The same kind of idea is what reactivity is, where, as I start to do skipping, for instance, and as I'm building up speed, it gets easier and easier to skip because I have more speed, and therefore my body is bringing in more energy, or it's engaging with more energy, and then it can utilize that energy and kind of rebound it into the next jump. So that is the concept of reactivity. And the way that you train that is primarily through things like plyometrics. And you can train it, there's so many plyometrics, whether it's leaps, skips, hops, splits, bounding, anything like that. Those are really good ways to train reactivity. And you can also do it with some more intense plyometrics, things like depth jumps and drop jumps and so forth. But the main idea with that is it's training your body's ability to both physically and like your nervous system to rapidly redirect force using the stretch shortening cycle. So when it comes to physical qualities and we're talking about strength, those are the three ones I'm talking about: max strength, rate of force development, and then elasticity. The last category when it comes to physical qualities that I'm referring to is basically like recovery and freshness. So recovery and freshness, when I'm saying that, is just like you got to give your body time to recover, otherwise it's never going to adapt. So it's just giving yourself adequate rest periods in between sets in your workout, as well as on a macro level in between your workout sessions, and just getting quality sleep, staying hydrated, eating a nutrient dense diet, not managing your stress, making sure you keep your energy up, and so forth. Though, so those are the three main buckets when it comes to physical qualities: is the mobility and tissue quality, the strength, and then the recovery and freshness I just spoke about. The next big bucket when it comes to how I help basketball players get faster on the court in a way that actually translates to the court is the next category is linear speed. So speed can be broken down into like linear and multi-directional speed. So right now I'm talking about linear speed. This is bucket number 2. Linear speed, the main things you need to focus on here, linear speed is just straight speed. There's no change of direction. There's no even deceleration. It's literally just going fast. So linear speed can be broken down further into acceleration and max velocity. When it comes to these things, there's really two things you need to focus on. Number one is the mechanics. When it comes like you're a basketball player, so you're not training for track necessarily. So I wouldn't say you need to have pristine sprint form and pristine sprint mechanics, although that certainly will help you get faster. But you do want to be able to have some good things when it comes to your running. You want to be able to, when you're accelerating, you want to be able to get into a good torso lean with shin angles that are going at a positive angle. That means that they're angling forward rather than vertical, so you can apply the force horizontally into the ground. You want to be able to have, forceful arm swings, so that way you can incorporate more force into your drive. You want to have low heel recovery, things like that. So that's when I'm saying mechanics. You don't need to be Olympic level with it, but you want to know how to do those things, and you want to be able to demonstrate them in your sprints, because it's going to help you run faster at the end of the day, and that's what helps you get faster to translate to the court. The other side of it is the coordination or the skill of sprinting. It kind of goes hand in hand with mechanics, but I'm going to give it its own little category, just in the sense that, like, if you want to get faster at linear speed, if you want to get faster at acceleration, which is like 0 to 15 yards or 20 yards, but I think really for basketball terms, we're talking like 0 to 10 yards. And then max velocity is anything that's like 20 yards and above, really like 25 to 30. So if you want to get faster in those areas, you need to practice it. That's how you develop the coordination and skill to be faster in acceleration and max velocity for linear speed. So again, the main categories when it comes to linear speed, we break it down further into acceleration and max velocity, and then you just need to have good mechanics and coordination when it comes to those areas. The third big bucket when it comes to helping basketball players get faster in a way that translates to the court is multi-directional speed. So this was the other one I referenced earlier. Multi-directional speed is speed where you are decelerating, you are changing direction, and you also have to react. So the difference between change of direction and agility is change of direction is purely changing direction. There's no reaction to an outside stimulus like a defender or somebody calling out something or anything like that. Agility is change of direction with the cognitive side of reacting to whatever is going on around you and making that quick decision to change direction. So when it comes to multi-directional speed, similar to linear speed, you need to have solid mechanics with it. One, for instance, is like when you're changing direction, you want to be able to shift your mass, your center of mass, in the direction that you want to go rapidly. Meaning, if I want to go to my left, then I need to shift my weight over to my left. If I shift my weight to my right, I'm going to have an inefficient and a hard time going to my left. So that would be like one example of the mechanics. You want to get low, have a low center of mass, etc. The other side of it is the coordination or skill of multi-directional speed. So that's just getting reps with it. And you need to get reps with decelerating. You need to get reps with changing direction. So those are things you can get with like just doing cone drills. And I'm not a cone drill hater when it comes to multi-directional speed, because that's a really good way to just develop the physical skill of it. But the other component is the cognitive reaction time side of it, and that you can do with, if you have technology, you can use things like Blaze Pods. When I was the head performance coach at Parisi Speed School, we used Blaze Pods, and it was really cool technology because it allowed you to actually measure how fast you were reacting to a stimuli, and it was pretty cool. But if you don't have that, you can just do things like You can set a beeper that you have to respond to. Like there's beepers on YouTube that you can, find and have to react to that. Or you can listen to music, and anytime you hear a beat switch or you hear a word dropped or something like that, that's a word that starts with G, and then versus a word that starts with A, will have like two different decisions you have to do. Or you can just play basketball with someone, or do drills with someone, and you have to respond to whatever they do. Maybe they clap and you have to do one thing, versus if they snap their fingers, you have to do another. So that's another example. So far I've talked about for the three big buckets of how I help basketball players get faster in a way that translates to the court. Talked about physical qualities, talked about linear speed, multi-directional speed, and the last area is on court. This is like the actual basketball side of it. And we're going to break this down into offense and defense. If you want your speed to translate to the court, you have to actually get on the court and practice being fast. And fast doesn't always mean going at 100% speed. In fact, a lot of the times when you have the basketball, you don't want to go 100% speed. You want to be a little bit more deceptive with that. And that's, a little bit of that multi-directional and linear speed combined. When I was at Sacramento State as a manager, we had our associate head coach, Brandon Laird, used to always reference playing at different speeds on a scale of 1 to 10. He would talk about you always want to pretty much be at a 7 speed, that you want that to be like the norm that you play at. And sometimes you shift gears and maybe you play at like a 4 or 5. Sometimes you shift gears and go up to like an 8 or 9, but you're never really going at 10 at least 100% of the time, because you want to be a little bit more deceptive with it. So that's when you have the basketball. Think of guys like Luka. Luka is not the fastest player in the league, yet he always is able to create advantages and get defenders on his hip, because he's really deceptive, and he is phenomenal. Same thing with James Harden, at decelerating and then changing direction. And they're not going 100% speed all the time. So like that's a good example on offense when you have the basketball. But other things we can do to translate our speed work to the court is also like if you're doing team drills, and it's stuff with fast break, like sprinting really hard in transition is a way that you develop speed that translates to the court. Or working on winning loose balls, like in a rebounding drill, that is a way that you can work on speed that translates to the court. On the defensive side, you just have to defend people. And again, like you can play one-on-one, in my opinion, is the best way to go about doing that, because you actually have to defend a live person and get stops. So there's built-in motivation with that as well. But on the defensive side, there needs to be more of a reactive component to it with somebody else. Excuse me. So, those are the ways that you really translate it to the court. But at the end of the day, if you want to get fast and you want to translate to the court, you have to get on the court. You got to play basketball. That's the best way to get your speed to translate to the court. And that is basically my system to helping people get faster, to helping basketball players get faster in a way that actually translates to the court. Physical qualities, meaning having good mobility and tissue quality, strength in terms of max strength, a rate of force development or power, and then reactive strength, reactivity or elasticity. And then the third thing on the physical qualities is going to be things like just being recovered and fresh. So that way you are not overtraining and getting injured, but rather your body's actually adapting to the stimuli. Big bucket number 2 is, after physical qualities, is now linear speed. And that's going to be things like the mechanics and coordination or skill of acceleration and max velocity. Then the third bucket is going to be multi-directional speed. That is going to be the mechanics and coordination of deceleration, change of direction, and reaction time. And then the fourth big bucket is getting on the court for offense and defense. And that's both with the ball and without the ball. And working on actually being fast there. So that's the system here. If you follow this, you are going to get faster, and you're going to get faster in a way that actually translates to the court. And at the end of the day, it comes down to getting in the weight room, doing your plyometrics, doing your mobility work, doing your strength training, jumping and power work, and then actually sprinting and so forth, and then actually playing basketball. So it all translates together. That's how you get faster in a way that translates on the court. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you got questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop a comment down below or shoot me a message on Instagram, shoot me a DM. That'll also work. If you did find this video helpful, please like and subscribe this and share this with someone who you think could benefit from this. And if you want to work with me, again, you can just shoot me a comment or a DM on Instagram. And then I'll also link some of my programs that you can follow. They're they're done for you, and then you can just follow along at your own pace. So I'm going to put that in the description as well. But as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Hope you have a blessed day. Agape love to you. Peace.